Hello, listeners, and welcome to the second season of the Adapt podcast. My name is Harish Murgason, and I am a current computer science engineering student here at the Ohio State University. Now, today I have the honor to be joined by Mr. Joris Castermans. Mr. Castermans is a highly successful businessman after graduating from the Saxion University of Applied Sciences in industrial designing. Mr. Casterman utilizes his skills through consultancy, IT, and business developers. Mr. Castermans has worked in a lot of different environments and workplaces to help build his business experience through projects at places like Slim Design, Casterman's Connected, and KPN IoT. Currently, he is now the CEO and founder of this company called Whispp, an AI-powered app that helps to empower people who suffer from voice disorders and stutters. So thank you again, Mr. Casterman, for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Well, while I begin, one of the first questions that I like to ask all my guests, I try to keep it a common question for everyone who comes on the show, is essentially what were some of the steps that got you to the place you're at today, and what was the story of, your place here at Wisp?
Yeah, yeah, good question. So, I'm originally an industrial designer, so I design products, and I think it's a really nice métier to come up with ideas, develop products, but being also busy with the business. So I think it's a character. It's really something that is characterizing me. I'm a generalist, so I really like to build new ideas and combine uh, a lot of elements to solve problems and to come up with new businesses. So what I think is really important, and that is something that I encounter every day. I built and started the company Whispp based on a problem that is really close to me myself. I have a slight stutter, and when I was a child, my stutter was more severe, and that was the starting point for Wisp to develop AI, voice AI for people who stutter severely. And that is based on the fact that people who stutter severely when they whisper, they are much more fluent. So then the idea was born to develop AI that converts this whispered speech into a normal voice, so you can have clear and relaxed phone calls. And I think it's really important, and that brought me, I think, here, because that's your question, that this is something that is really close to me. So solving a problem that's really close to yourself, so you are intrinsically motivated to solve it, is a really big force to be successful.
Yeah, totally. Bouncing off of that idea, actually, do you feel that some of the most successful people in, each field of expertise, do you think having a general struggle motivates them a little bit more than, someone who can't really relate to that issue or problem?
Yeah, for sure. When you when you look at startups, I think the most successful startups are funded by founders who are have really, yeah, close, are really, who are highly motivated, and where the problem that they are solving is really close to themselves. Yeah.
Totally. Going back to Wisp, just for some of the viewers at home, what is Wisp, and what are some of its basic ideas, workarounds and
Yeah.
solutions, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, you probably know about speech technology, speech recognition. and also speech synthesis. So when you have text, you can of course synthesize that to a beautiful voice. What we are doing, we are giving voice to voiceless speech, and in real time. So, and like I mentioned, people and the idea was born on the fact that people who stutter severely when they whisper, they are much more fluent. Um, so I thought, yeah, let's convert whispered speech in real time to the natural voice of the person. When we started, some people with a broad variety of voice conditions reached out to us. People with throat cancer, vocal cord paralysis, spasmodic dysphonia. So we are also helping them. Um, and yeah, what makes us so unique is that it is language agnostic. So you can use it in each language because there is no large language model. There's no a text mid representation. So it's an audio to audio based AI that's really fast. So currently, our AI runs on the phone with a latency of about 150 milliseconds. So that's really, really fast.
Okay. You mentioned like some of your ideal user group being, people with throat cancer, people with different other conditions. When starting, was there ever a kind of thought process to help one sort of, demographic in that user group first, and then you kind of realized that you could help all these different other people, or was it kind of we just want to generally help all these people suffering
That's
from.
yeah, it's a good question because I started, of course, with my stuttering, and then
Mm.
soon, when we made a first uh, a simple website, yeah, people were reaching out themselves. So, would it also work for me with my throat cancer, my rough voice, or so we were really triggered, and the that target group is even bigger than people who stutter, right? So I think now just a quarter of our downloads. We have a mobile app. You can, by the way, uh, you can play around with that. You can download it for free. You can have voice messages. You can convert voice messages with it, and you have 30 minutes for of free calling to test around. Um, so yeah, it's beautiful where you start with one target group, and it organically uh, yeah grew.
Mm. Totally. I find that very inspiring and kind of motivates me to ask you, on a very personal level, do you feel general sort of increased satisfaction or I guess fulfillment in a general sense from I know you've worked on a lot of other companies before, but does Wisp give you a little bit of extra personal fulfillment that you get to help people and empower people every day?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So the nicest thing is, I think, to meet people where you work for, right? So having people here at the office for focus groups. I mean, we are constantly in contact with people via the customer service. Um, and when they tell about a positive event, uh, that if, for example, that making phone calls is so easy again for them, and that it grows their independency, that they're, I mean, they're able to make the phone calls themselves again. Yeah, that is really really motivating for sure. Yeah.
Definitely. I feel a little bit motivated on a personal note actually to I have a lot of family and people around me that are often kind of preaching a way of, the only way to help and I guess truly benefit people's lives is often seen as only through two pathways. It's either you become a lawyer and you help people get justice on like a court level, or you take a path of, medical, you become a doctor and nurse and you help people that way. But I think one of the most underrated things are aspects of kind of an industrial and engineering perspective is essentially, making the innovations that are helping people's lives,
Oh,
on a front
absolutely.
line. I
Absolutely.
think, yeah,
Sure.
I find that a very interesting perspective that a lot of people don't see or use that I think
Yeah,
something that was in this episode, might bring to people's attention more. So that's
sounds
very
good.
cool.
Yeah. And I think there is so much to do, right? So, um, and I think when more people, and I think that's a nice thing. And of course, I'm not that young anymore, and but I'm also not that old. But what I see with young people in general, it feels that they are so motivated to make it a more a better and a more beautiful world. And I would say, please, yeah, keep on doing that because that's the best you can do. And yeah, go for it.
Yeah, totally. Building on to that, actually, you mentioned that a lot of young people are really motivated. Do you feel that that sort of change from, last generation to this do you think it's due to an increase in, I guess, problems and, we look to a younger generation to essentially get motivated to solve an increased amount of problems?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the opportunities are um, I mean, the access to knowledge and the access to, for example, new tools and technologies is much lower, right? So you are, I think it's in that sense to start to 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 build a new company, to build an on top of a new idea. I think the barriers are lower now than in the past.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I think, you know, looking at from like my elementary school days to middle school to high school, I've also been able to see that change. So I couldn't agree more.
Nice.
And going back to Wisp, that was a little bit off topic about motivation and engineering, I guess, in general. But going back to Wisp, what were some of the struggles you had in kind of actualizing Wisp and, making an actual app that people could use?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, I mean, we started in May 2018. I had the first idea for Wisp. So time flies. um, and there were, yeah, several years that we were not sure if this bold idea was possible. So we have been really struggling and going to the mud to and struggle and so this kind of intrinsic motivation has for for sure helped me, and I think that is we have a really strong and motivated team. So I think it's of course not just me, but it's the team and what we're doing. It attracts really talented young people, people who want to make a difference. So I think in general that makes such a big difference. I mean, and the team is yeah what it is all about with a startup.
Mhm. We're going on to, your startup itself. Were there any funding issues or struggles like that? And if so, how are you able to overcome them?
Yeah, so we are located here in the Netherlands in Leiden. It's a university city. We are located here at the accelerators, the startup incubator of the University of Leiden. And I think that would be my biggest advice for students, for young people who want to start with a startup. Please find a place where there is an ecosystem that really is beneficial, that really can help you, that can speed up. Um, Many things get so much easier. One of those things are getting funded. So my first commitment was the investment fund of University of Leiden, yeah, they were literally the first investors, commercial investors in Whispp. Before that, we had some grants from the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs. That's of course the first start, but this funding, this investment was not possible. I mean, it wouldn't been possible. And sorry, I have to put on the lights here again.
Oh, good.
So this investment, this first commitment wouldn't have been possible when we weren't here. Um, so in general, of course, fundraising is tough. And having a true story is a story that is close to your heart, where you can show that you are really, really motivated to solve this problem, and you have a strong team. That is for sure the start.
Yeah. Building off of the funding and kind of the beginning of Wisp, I don't, although Wisp is like a digital app, you can download on your phones. By the way, for the viewers at home, I'll attach like the little link for Wisp, on all the streaming and platforms that you watch this on, so you guys can go ahead and check out Wisp for yourselves. But although Wisp is a digital and just online app itself, were there any physical products or technologies that you needed to utilize or were kind of needed for Wisp to get actualized?
No, so you can just make phone calls with the Wisp app. You just need your phone for that. Um, we are launching a virtual microphone for the laptop. So so uh, so um, so that's all software as well. Maybe in the future, to facilitate live conversations, have people, for example, who lost their voice, they have difficulties to express themselves in noisy situations. Going to a party or to the restaurant is really difficult in many cases because they, they are just not heard. So being able to connect your phone to, for example, a Bluetooth speaker or to your earbuds is then kind of the way to go. Um, so that would be the only hardware that is required, but for live conversations.
Okay, got it. Um, the AI model itself that Wisp use, could you elaborate a little bit on kind of how the AI model approaches the problem and how it kind of solves it?
Yeah, so really a really high over. It is really about, so it's an audio to audio based AI. So there's no speech to text and text to speech. So it really, yeah, cuts the audio stream into little pieces, and it kind of, yeah, recognizes the non-voiced, the voiceless little audio segments, and is able to convert that piece by piece and glue them together into a regular voice. So we call it kind of a voice reconstruction technology because it's not it is kind of, yeah, reconstructing piece by piece the voice on the fly.
Hmm. Is there, you mentioned like it does it on the fly, but is there any delays or like
Yeah, so currently,
processing times?
yeah, it's really small. So the current latency when it runs on the phone is about 150 milliseconds.
Okay. So
So
it's
it's
still very minute enough to, keep up a distant normal
yeah.
conversation,
So
right? Off.
yeah, for a phone call, a phone call, for example, you just wouldn't notice. For a face-to-face conversation, you will see a bit of a lip sync. But certainly when it's a crowded situation and the voice is really low, then the listener won't hear the own voice and the synthesized, right? So because when you would hear both, then it for the recipient and also by the way for the speaker, it it is kind of annoying. But when there's a lot of noise and the speaker is kind of talking like this, really, it's a really soft voice, and there's a lot of noise, and the output is not that high for the listener, then it's not bothering both the speaker as the recipient.
Mhm. Got it. So the AI model kind of stitches together piece by piece, like you said before. So that's definitely one of the most unique selling points, I would argue in Wisp, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, so when looking at the overall market right now, do you ha see any potential competition for Wisp at this point? Or from what I've read, it seems as if, Wisp is just a truly groundbreaking app for,
Yeah. So now
Stutter.
yeah, unique, and there is no competition. What we see is that mainly bigger companies have big tech, and they are really focusing on speech to text and text to speech because the semantics is they are really tied to their business models. They just want to know what you say, right?
Mhm.
So that's why I think till now the speech technology is really it's really focused on speech recognition and speech synthesis.
Yeah, you mentioned big companies trying to do speech to text and text to speech. Are there any big companies? I know software companies like Google and Microsoft were able to develop their own AI models and chat boxes. So, is there any plans or, future ideas to implement Wisp, directly into maybe iPhone met phone calls or,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Google Meet meetings? Is there any future plans for that?
Yeah. So what we are currently building is a virtual microphone. So it's just a piece of software on your laptop. You can select the Wisp microphone when you want to have calls like this, Zoom calls or Teams or Google Meet or WebEx. So with that, it is kind of an inclusive tool. So it's not a feature in Teams or in Zoom because then, for example, we are in a business setting. Sometimes I use Zoom and then I use Teams and then we use Google Meet. So we really think that the ideal situation for example, laptop uh, usage is being implemented in, for example, Windows.
Okay. So it's essentially just that little plugin that you can attach to your device, enhances it through the virtual microphone, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
understands. I think that's a simpler solution than, working with these big companies, implementing them each
Yeah.
individually can be a
Yeah.
tedious
True.
process.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Going back to AI in general, one of my recent questions, and I think just a recent question in society in general as AI grows in popularity, is AI is often, I think recently in the past few weeks, ChatGPT was able to imitate an art style called Ghibli art style. And so I just wanted to ask you, from a person who utilizes AI in day-to-day things, what are your thoughts on things like this where AI are imitating art that's taken months and months of, human labor to produce, or it's taking jobs from highly skilled coders that it's just writing the
Yeah.
whole code for. So what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on the pros and cons of AI?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally the thing is we um the risk is that people, let's say, work that has been yeah, maybe being getting a commodity will be replaced by AI, right? So
Mm.
um and in society, chances are big that the 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 jobs for maybe lower social classes are being, yeah, they and
Endangered.
they suffer more than jobs where there is a lot of added value in having a network and having creativity and of course, e- even there it gets it's getting a strange world, right?
Yeah.
With all those tools. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a fascinating box to look into and see where that takes us into the future, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, while we look to wrap up, um, one of the last questions I like to ask all my guests on the show, while we're wrapping up is often because on the show we have a lot of innovators, startups, a lot of uh, motivating business leaders. So I ask a similar a question, which is, in your opinion, what is the next frontier of orientation past the current frontier of AI and VR? What do you believe is the next big thing?
Oh, I find it really difficult to be honest. Oh, that's big. That's a big question, right?
Yeah. It
For
definitely
me, yeah, the big
it definitely
wave.
stumps a lot of the guests for I mean, it
Yeah.
personally stumps me. There's so much you can wonder and think about. It's
Yeah. I mean,
it's a
of course,
hefty
the
question.
entire uh, agentic way of working and connecting all kinds of agents. Uh, yeah, it will totally, uh, yeah, disrupt IT architect landscapes, right? I mean, certainly uh, enterprise uh, IT landscapes will totally change.
So, will the IT landscapes kind of change on a like an economic level as well? Will we see like more wealth come from a different landscape, or what do you predict will happen on an economic side of things?
Ooh. Those are too macro for me, I think, to be honest.
Okay. That's all good. That's all good. Totally understandable.
But but yeah, what you in general see, of course, is that for example, a consultancy, the big consultancy firms, their role, yeah, changes um, to being more an orchestrator than providing knowledge, because knowledge is everywhere and you can just pick it up, and it is kind of combining and I mean, um, of course, the challenge is to go beyond all the existing knowledge and the existing information that is available, and to come up. Yeah, I mean, the risk is, of course, to being biased and not going further than our own bubble and bubbles.
Mm. No, yeah, I totally agree. It's a big question mark for the future, seeing
Exactly.
how that'll go. So
Yeah.
that's again a very perfect answer, Mr. Casterman. So for all the as we close out, thank you again, Mr. Castermans, for joining that app podcast here today.
Thank you for having me, and we'll be in contact.
Definitely, definitely. And thank you for telling the viewers about I think Wisp, and I really motivate I think a lot of the viewers watching at home to go ahead and try it out. You stated it was on iOS, all platforms, right?
Yeah, it's on iOS and it's on Android currently. So please, yeah, feel free to download it for free, play around with it, and please tell it and tell the story, spread the word for people, yeah, who really need it because of their voice condition or
Mm.
yeah, severe stutter.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you again for making a product that helps change the environment and change people's lives. So thank you again, Mr. Castermans, for joining us today.
Thank you.
And sorry about what was that?
No, thank you so much for having me, and take care.